What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another video. As you can tell, we have the Bronco in the shop. Mike is over here and we have quite a few things to do in today's video, not only with some upgrades, but we need to take the Bronco wheeling for the first time on this channel. Now, a while back, myself, Mike, and Cassie took the Bronco off-roading at Crossbar for the first time. It did extremely well, and that was completely stock. Now, the Bronco is still pretty much stock, but we're gonna change that today with a few much needed upgrades. Some A-arm skid plates, rear shock skid plates, and it is time for the third oil change. And if you remember the first time we did an oil change on this, it was an absolute mess. So we're gonna see if this little product can clean it up or if it just makes it worse. So we have a lot to do, so let's get started. Rolling up. The first order of business is going to be an oil change. Now, unfortunately, we're gonna have to get dirty again. If you've never changed oil on a Bronco, it is just a mess.
This oil cap probably cost $10,000 worth of research, but.
Yep. Now, I'm gonna include a little clip from the very first time we changed oil on this thing. Here we go. Oh my, that is horrible design. That is just the worst design I've ever seen. And now it's time to see if this Ronin Factory little easy drain plug is gonna make it any easier. Now, unfortunately, we're gonna have to drain the oil without the ease of this, and we really won't know how easy this is to drain it until another oil change. But we're gonna go ahead and drop all of this oil, hopefully into the bucket this time and not on the garage floor. That was a lot smoother. Pretty much what it's gonna do is still cam lock into the oil pan, but we can unscrew this and install this little bleeder screw, which is going to allow us to drain our oil through a tube down to the floor. Spam risk, right? But one thing we were talking about is, okay, so when you're draining your oil, it only comes up like 1/8 of an inch. If you have a bunch of metal shavings or any blockage, it's not gonna drain out of your oil. But in that case, all you have to do is once your oil's like drained out, you can just simply pull this out and you won't make a mess, and you can still clean this tip out and everything. So I don't know, we're gonna see if it's a good design, if it makes these oil changes any easier. We're gonna find out. While the oil is draining, a little intermission time because we're getting some gravel delivered up here around the shop. Gonna spread it around the shop because every time it rains, it just gets soaking wet and muddy, really pretty nasty. So drain old oil as you normally would. After the oil is drained, you can clean it. Okay, so when the notch gets to the 12 o'clock position, you'll feel or hear it pop in, so it's latched. Okay, so really, there's really no install instructions. I mean, there are, you shouldn't really need these. Make sure it cams in, make sure it's tight, and then we're good to go. Keys in, and then you turn, and it clicks. Super simple. So it feels just like the stock plug does, like how like the tightness of it. It's not any looser. Well, what's moving up and down? The new drain plug is on. I'm excited to see what it's gonna be like when it's actually time to change the oil next time. We did 1 quart and it took roughly a minute. So for 6 quarts, it's gonna be about 6 minutes, which is longer than usual, but if you just have it drain it into a bucket or something, I don't see a big issue. But next, before we take this thing wheeling, again, it is time for some skid plates. These are from Barnes 4-wheel drive. We have the rear axle shock coilover. These are bolt-in skid plates for that. And we have the front aluminum A-arm. Well, these are steel, but we are covering up the aluminum A-arms up here in the front. So these are both very vulnerable spots, but there is one thing I wanted to show you guys from the one time we took this wheeling, we did a little damage to the skid plate. So as you can tell, this dip right here is not supposed to be there. The gas tank support bracket is quite bent. So we're gonna have to do some shopping or call your guy at Ford and see what the part number is for this. I found the part number, but I didn't find anything online. So quick call to the dealer, get a new strap, and then eventually a fuel tank skid plate. But other than that, it doesn't look too bad up in here. Of course, the transfer case skid plate too, but that wasn't even touched. So back to what we were talking about, the skid plates. The rear skid plate is gonna bolt right on here and protect our coilover shock right there, because once again, this is a very vulnerable place for a rock, and we don't wanna bust the nice shocks that we got on our new Ford Bronco. The spacer lifts and everything, yep. You knock these studs out and just put traditional bolts in.
Okay.
Yeah, flip them.
With sliders on them would protect them, because
that's definitely a dragging point, or a shear point.
Shear point that that's the stud that goes.
Yeah, I mean, if you hit this, or if you're on a rock against that and you shear that one, shear this one, the shock falls out, you're bottomed out. So we'll see what the skid plates do. there's a wrench or something. So these are super simple to bolt on. One thing is that you don't want to loosen these with your tire up in the air because your shock and the A-arm could fall down. So in this case, we have our stand here, but you could just do it straight on the ground. A lot of people like using aluminum. I talk about this in every skid plate video. I prefer steel just because if we're putting a skid plate on something, it's for a reason. We want it to be heavy duty. Kind of acts as a ramp too. I like it. Now we can launch off the rocks.
Not bad.
Not bad. Now that the skid plates are on, we are out here at Crossbar Off-Road Park. And it's kind of funny because actually getting to the trail up into this point, I've already hit the skid plates on the control arms twice. There's one little nub there. As you can tell, there's a rock there it's about to hit. And that one over there has already been kissed twice. So right off the bat, already a good investment. And we're about to tackle a pretty good trail here.
Kelly's cut.
This is a pretty intense trail for a stock Bronco. We're gonna walk up here. And I've done it in the Jeeps. Cassie's actually done this in the Bronco on her channel. I have yet to do it, and these are some very large rocks. And for a stock Bronco to be able to tackle this, it's pretty impressive. So now before I hype myself up too much, I haven't made it up in the Bronco yet. So Cassie's an excellent driver. We're gonna find out. All right, you ready?
Yep.
Let's test it out.
Right there.
That skid plate.
Keep coming. Right there. Should be able to give it a little gas.
Yep.
Yep. Keep going. Right, cut, driver. Yep, driver.
That was a very impressive climb.
Yes.
You know, with the lockers, you know, granted both lockers front and rear were on. We were very light throttle. We're down to 15 in the front, 13 in the rear, or 13 in the front, 11 in the rear. And you know, these tires do seem to hook pretty good. They're really worn now, so you know, it's definitely time for an upgrade, but being able to do that completely stock, you know, with some skid plates is phenomenal. So we're gonna go try out some more trails, but I think that is probably one of the most difficult things we're gonna do in the Bronco today, but you never know. I can't even avoid spam calls during a nice relaxing wheeling trip. It's not too often that we get to see the waterfall this low and you can actually see how big of a ledge it is. When Cassie came here and wheeled the Bronco, this is the section where she dented that gas tank strap. Yeah, start straightening it a little bit right there. And bellied out. And we posted that video on Instagram. And all the Bronco guys got their feelings hurt. They were saying to hit it harder, hit it with speed. Guys, check this out. This is what we get hung up on. And now that I see it like dry, I'm surprised we even made it up in the Bronco in this. That's a big ledge. You know, this ledge over here, the first waterfall, it's more of a ramp.
It's a gradual step.
Yeah, it's a gradual ramp. That one, ledge. We're not doing the Bronco on this again, or at least until we get a full gas tank skid plate.
Yep, slow. Keep going.
I think that was a skid plate.
Yep.
Like a little barn skid plate action.
Yep.
The turbos with these, you have to, like I was trying to give it a good bump that whole time, but with the turbos, like you really have to, like that was almost like a full pedal.
That's full spool.
In order to get
full spool.
Yep. And there's no good way to like break it just like it doesn't build any boost. Like watch the camera. I'm just gonna go. Like it's like, see, like it doesn't load up. So I don't know, but as long as you just floor it.
Keep coming. Yep, it's gonna push. It'll push. It'll push. Slow and easy. Yep, yep. We're passing the top of Fun Haver now. Well, there was back contact with back skids. Trail turn assist. See if it locks. We're gonna hard pin. Should be locking the inner back. Yep, definitely locked it. Okay, turn it off. AJ with a long way to go and rock solid rig. You might remember this trail. Right there, good, perfect. Yep, all right. Ooh, you just shoved a big one. Start turning left. Make sure this tire rides that and goes in the cut. Yep, right there. Keep going. It'll push. It'll push. Go. Right there. Slow. And just like that.
Dude, with skids and momentum, this thing will go anywhere. I think it's safe to say that it was a very successful day of off-roading at Crossbar, and I think it's pretty safe to say that the Bronco is extremely capable as it sits from the factory when it comes to rock crawling and off-roading. Now, I know we didn't do the most difficult trails out there, but to keep in mind, this is a stock Bronco, and it did everything we just did. Luckily, the front and rear lockers on the Sasquatch edition is what really, helped us out on a lot of those obstacles. If we had open differentials, there's no way we would have made it on half of those. So, this is kind of like, I made a video a long time ago when we picked this thing up, and I kind of compared this model to the Rubicon, and I guess the Bronco guys don't like that. The only reason I was comparing it to a Rubicon is because it had, the 4.7 gears, the front and rear locker, kind of Rubicon in my mind. Plus, for some reason, it has a trail rated badge on there. So I don't know, maybe that's what made it go up all those rocks. Now, what's next for the Bronco? I know a lot of people don't care. In my mind, this thing does amazing stock. The only thing it needs right off the bat is a good set of skid plates. Now, luckily with the Barnes control arm skid plates and the shock skid plates, we're good there. But the fuel tank skid plate situation needs to be fixed because this is I think like 5,200 pound vehicle. And once you put that in a rock crawling scenario, the only way to make it up bigger obstacles is momentum, right? Or huge tires and crawl it. But this thing is gonna need momentum to make it up these rocks. Momentum means you're usually gonna bash stuff, and having a plastic fuel tank right underneath where rocks are gonna bash is not a good idea. Now, I don't wanna get a super heavy duty skid plate and put it on there and lose an inch of ground clearance, because then it's just gonna make it worse and we're gonna get hung up more often. So the other option is to lift the vehicle to gain ground clearance underneath with a skid, which is also another great option. However, I don't know that this thing really needs any more lift, at least for tire size, because I don't think we're gonna go up to 37s on this. That's when people are starting, to blow out their steering, break the tie rods, the whole thing. There's a lot more that needs upgraded once we go to 37s. So I think maybe a 1-inch lift, some true 35s, a skid plate underneath for the fuel tank, and a winch. There was a lot of scenarios out there with not having a winch is just completely, it's kind of dumb to be out there in the rocks without a winch. But I just rambled on for quite a while. I really wanted to take this thing off-road stock, see what it could do. We did add some rock sliders. Those are Jeep Gladiator rock sliders that we cut and made mounts for the Bronco. But I wouldn't, you know, really consider it an upgrade because it's very similar to the factory Ford rock rails. And as you can tell, that's from Cassie's trip. They did not make a difference because they don't come outside the body. Once again, a lot of rambling. That is it for this video, guys. I know this is a Jeep channel. We're gonna have more Jeep content coming soon, but I really wanted to wheel the Bronco, and it does a phenomenal job. And before we just start throwing money at it, I wanted to see what this thing can do and what it actually needs if we plan on taking this thing off-road. See you guys later. Thanks for watching. Please give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you guys next week with a Jeep up here in the shop.